Hi everyone, today we're going to make our own memory game. What I'm doing here is just figuring out how I'm going to make the cards. I want them all to be the same size. So I'm just using a ruler and using the width of the ruler to make them all squares. I don't care if there's some extra paper, I'll just get rid of the paper that doesn't work. Obviously we need an even number because we're looking for cards that match. So I'm going to focus on a couple of different things we can do. You could just make color matching cards. So I'm just using some watercolors here. You don't have to use watercolors, of course. You can use anything you have. You can use crayons, you can use markers, colored pencils. You just want to make sure that you do something that works. So I'm just going to do 2 of each color here. And while I work on these, I'm going to talk about some other ideas. You don't just have to do color, of course. You can do anything you want, and you make any kind of theme you want. If you wanted to, say, draw images like shapes, you could make shapes that could match. You could make patterns or swirls or anything that you can think of that would be fun. And then, of course, it doesn't have to be in color. If you don't have anything to paint with or color with right now, you could just use a pencil or a pen and just draw images that would work for you. I'm using some pretty thick paper, and no matter what you're doing, if the thicker the paper you can use is going to be better, because if you want them to be easy to hold and play with, the thicker paper is going to last you longer and they're going to be easier. Plus, if it's too thin, you might even see through it, and that wouldn't really work for a game. And so what you can do is, of course, I'm making these kind of small. You can make bigger ones. You just want to make sure everything matches. So it's really important, of course, that when you cut them, you got to be really careful, because if they have anything that is distinctive, that means if there's anything that you can recognize that's on the back of the card, it's not going to work when you're playing, because you'll be able to notice from the back. So you either want to keep the back of your card plain, the color of the paper, or if you are going to use some kind of decoration, you want to make sure it's like a repeating decoration. Like you could even maybe put some kind of wrapping paper on the back, or some decorative paper if you have any of that laying around, or just keep them white. You can, of course, mix colors together to make new ones, and the more of these that you make, the more complicated you can make your game. So, of course, if you're only using 10 cards, then you're only going to have 5 pairs. So it's not going to be as hard as if you had 20 or 30 even. You could work yourself up to it and make a whole bunch of cards, and then when you get better and better at the memory game, then you can start adding more to the mix. But use this as an opportunity to practice some drawing skills and some painting skills, and see what happens when you do different things or add different colors. And just have some fun with it. And while you're working on this, you might get some totally new ideas that get you inspired to make other games or to change the memory game. Of course, it's fun if you have someone to play with after you've made them all. You can always play together and then see who collects the most cards. You'll notice I made some other ones. You could do upper and lowercase letters. You can do shapes. You can make things that are opposites. So when you set them up, you just kind of want to keep them neat. Make sure you mix your cards up so they're not too close together, and you don't just grab something nearby and then find that it's too easy. So every time you finish a game, make sure you shuffle up your cards so that they're nicely mixed. Of course, when you're playing, try and keep it neat so that it doesn't get too messy and hard to remember where things are. And go ahead and have some fun. And I hope that this ends up being something that you really enjoy, and maybe gives you some ideas for other games that you might create.